And yeah. Okay, so this is something that I started doing last week, and probably something I should have been doing a lot sooner. But after we finished the recent adventure arc in Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, I invited the players to hang out for a little bit and talk about the adventure arc, figure out what worked, what didn't, what were some highlights, what could have been improved if we did something similar again. And mostly just to kind of like summarize things, but also close things out, kind of get everyone's perspective, maybe. Clear the air about things if there's anything these air clearing. Just overall recap, post-mortem discussion. I have done stuff like this by myself in the past, but I find that players generally have a better view of the table and what's happening than the DM does, because the DM has to see everything, and everything that was, and everything that is, and everything that ever will be. Doctor Strange, 4 million realities kind of thing. Um, Players, on the other hand, they see what's happening right now, like in front of them. So I feel like you guys have better insights into how things went than the DM. So the adventure arc that we're covering is Analura's backstory. So this sexy, half-naked nerd over here and her backstory. So again, we're playing Skull and Shackles adventure that was created by Paizo about 400 years ago, during first edition, during the height, I would say, of first edition Pathfinder. The adventure path was long, very long, as many Pathfinder adventure paths tend to be. 6 books long, plus an infinite amount of supplemental material. We started, like all marriages do, pretty much by the book, and over time, the low magic, kind of low fantasy nature of the setting, which was a strong contrast, in my opinion, to the rest of the Paizo world, which is Galarian. The Shackles was small. The Shackles, by raw, didn't have guns or explosions. You could add it, and there were rules to add it, and we did add it. But overall, it always just felt sort of like we have this small pirate area tacked on, like Booty Bay in Worlds of Warcraft, right? They're like, oh yeah, there's got to be some place for the fucking pirates to live. I guess they live here in the Shackles. I wanted the Shackles to feel more like the world, right? Like the world that mattered. I didn't want it to feel like a small part of the world. I wanted it to feel like the world. And it's big once you scale it out. So as a group, we decided to scale out the world. And then as a group, we also decided, instead of just pursuing the basic bitch pirate adventure that was written for us, what if we took a more narrative approach, a more storytelling approach, a more character-driven approach, and everybody got to do like a character backstory adventure. Each one of those would set a milestone. That would take us through, I believe, to level 16, 15 or 16, and the end of the campaign as normally scheduled. That, of course, meant a lot of homebrewing. So we just finished the second character arc, the first one being Django's, and this one was Analura's. Analura is a sea elf. In this setting, the sea elves are very savage, a bit primitive, very spiritualistic. They live on, in, and around a massive underwater creature called the Leviathan, which is just a massive world-ending kaiju Godzilla-type monster that lives at the bottom of the ocean. Their people are in charge of keeping that creature from ever waking up and destroying the world, and in exchange, they gain the powers and protection of the creature and its great reputation. Everything has been well and good until recently, when other entities made a bid for power, by basically showing up to interrupt the endless phoenix-like cycle of the Leviathan creature, at which point the player characters are dragged in via Analura's connection to their queen and high priestess, aka her mother and sister, and we began our crazy underwater adventure. So, I think that kind of sums up how we got here, and then we could sort of talk about what happened and how things went. So, anybody have any particular part of the recent adventure that kind of stands out to them as some highlights or low points? If we want to start a little negative, that's fine too.
Yeah, so technically the Analura arc started like a long ass time ago when we found her journal and she was missing, and then we just ignored it
for like a year.
So I feel like
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That was shortly after I first came in.
Oh yeah, about a year ago, give or take. Analura seeded this adventure so long ago that when asked if she was ready for the adventure, she didn't remember any of the details of the adventure that she had helped plan. So that's how long it was between then and then. But that actually was the seed, not just for this adventure, but for the idea of pursuing backstory adventures as opposed to basic bitch pirate stuff. So if Analura had not left that journal out for everyone to find, we would probably just be pursuing the standard get your pirate fort, build your pirate fleet, challenge the other pirate, and you're done. Which is not bad. I mean, that's a good pirate story right there. But we're certainly going in a lot of interesting directions and I hope fun directions by pursuing each of the characters' backstories alongside the building of the pirate empire, which is of course Bubbles' main goal in the thing. So,
well, we also threw in a bit of lift stuff in the beginning, at least with the.
Well, what I decided to do with Lift is Lift's player. He did what every DM loves, and he said, "I don't really have a backstory other than I really wanted to be an elf in a setting where you said the elves are extinct." And so I was like, "So you just tell me to make something up?" And he's like, "Yeah." So his backstory.
Larat plagiarized the shit out of things.
So his backstory, I've decided to sprinkle over the other 5 backstories. So his backstory, you get a little bit while you do each of the other ones. So he kind of creates like a cohesive background story that's happening, sort of like Bubbles also. Like he's just trying to get strong and be a strong pirate. So the two of them sort of like sprinkle their growth along the 4 of you guys's.
So like the Hulk in the MCU, how you didn't have a movie, but like all the other times.
I mean, the Hulk had 2 movies.
I mean, that's because
the Hulk had
garbage.
He didn't have 2 movies. He was in 2 movies.
No, he had a movie, and then that movie got scrapped, and then he had another movie that was also his origin.
He had Ang Lee movie with Jennifer McConnelly, and then he had Edward Norton movie.
Those aren't MCU.
Oh, you're not going to count those? Okay.
The Edward Norton movie is MCU.
Is it?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep.
But yeah, basically, he's a character, along with Bubbles, whose story is evolving slowly around these bigger stories that are being told.
So anyway, the reason I brought that up is I'm pretty sure it was mentioned near the beginning, but did we ever get like his blue crystal, or did we just forget?
Yeah, you got the blue crystal and fed it to your ship. That's how your ship was able to go underwater.
Yeah,
okay,
I think the next
I remember
one is
that there was a
the
mention
red.
of it, but I didn't remember how much.
Yeah, now you're going to get from Analura's sister the red crystal, which you will feed to your ship, which will allow you to navigate the lava seas. That's right, because the Underdark in Skull Shackles is also pirate themed, but the oceans are just made of lava.
And if you fall in it, you're dead.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Don't fall in the lava.
I mean, what is it, like 10d, 10 fire, 10d10 bludgeoning per round or something? Like in the lava? It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Yeah. So what?
My time for revenge against Django is coming.
What revenge? What the fuck?
Right into the lava. Hold person, and then fucking tip you over the side.
So the thing I liked the most about the adventure was I liked the Leviathan itself, and I liked the Leviathan map, and I also liked that we didn't have to do a dungeon inside the Leviathan.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I think this was,
Thank
the
God for
perfect
that.
time.
I really
I think
like.
this was the perfect time to switch to Foundry because with those underwater effects and with all that lighting and shit, like we couldn't have done that in Roll20 without blowing up the world.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I think it worked out really, really well. And then, like, when I was first able to show you what I had managed to do with the parallaxing background and the underwater effect and the little turtles swimming around the big Leviathan, and then we had like the Metroid Mariana Trench music playing in the background, so it was like super like chill but spooky at the same time. I was like, yeah, this is the shit right here. So I was very excited about that. The kaiju battle thing, I was also really happy about. I was a little surprised how quickly kept our deep death got taken out like a fucking bitch, but that's okay. Um, the way the kaijus were working is they were so strong that only another kaiju could do any meaningful damage to them, essentially. Like their damage threshold was, I think, like 30 or something. So any damage that was below 30 just would be reduced to 0. They would just ignore it. And
Oof.
any spells below like 7th level, they would just not be affected by. So in order to deal with the kaiju, you would either need to be unbelievably powerful and or have something in their weight class. So it was very, very convenient that Bubbles realized that the ship is both a plant and a plant creature, just in time to be like, oh shit, well at least I could make the ship a little bit bigger. And then I had already kind of planned, I was like, well, they need to have their own kaiju, so we'll have their dragon ship turn into a kaiju for the final battle, because that would be fucking awesome. And I was like, I wonder how I could do it without it seeming like I was just handing them a kaiju. And then Bubbles is like, I'm going to make the ship big. And I'm like, yes, you are, Rita Repulsa. Yes, you are. And I just pictured Bubbles wearing a Rita Repulsa cosplay and being like, plant powers, make my pirate ship grow. So that was fun.
The moment you start describing the blood go into the ship,
Mhm.
I was so relieved because I was like thinking of every possible like way to try to get out of this, and I was like for weeks.
Really?
And I did not even think that we would be getting like a kaiju.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like I wanted to do something totally different. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I thought that you guys being able to pilot your own kaiju against 2 other kaiju monsters would be a pretty hype way to end the current storyline.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it solved all my problems.
All your anxiety problems?
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh my god, what do I have to say? What do I have to do? Do I enlarge the Leviathan baby? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
I'd mentioned this on the Miracle of Sound Discord about like the whole kaiju battle, and everyone's like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "I have a clip."
I will say Bubbles came through in clutch with that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers extended track. That was absolutely the right energy for that battle. That came in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So, this was also really fun because experience for me with Foundry, because I learned what sort of works and what doesn't work. Case in point, the Kraken caves where the not Naga were living. I was like, yeah, my guys all have good computers. and we started this up, and everyone was like, "I think my computer has smoke coming out of it." Yeah, I think we're
I don't
gonna.
think it was the computer so much, and more so the browser.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean,
I
that's
think,
what I mean.
yeah.
Like the browser could only go so far, and then the way I had built this, I was still learning like fancy lights. So I had all these lights everywhere to simulate sort of an underwater effect. And now looking back, I know smarter ways to handle lighting and stuff like that. But it was definitely the first map where I was like, I have stretched too far. I have tried to do too much at once. But it was satisfying to me to watch you guys basically kicking the shit out of stuff, because I feel like a lot of times, in order to challenge you, I put you in those Power Ranger situations where you spend the first 20 minutes of a 30-minute episode getting your asses kicked, and then you sort of rally for the end. So it was nice to see you guys, a relatively small group, just kick in the front door of these people's lair and just start wrecking them. Now, eventually, of course, you ran out of gas because 5e action economy and resources and all that, and then parlayed to victory. But it was cool to see just how far you guys were willing to push into this dungeon before you were like willing to stop and negotiate. So that was a fun one. So, also for the underwater adventure, I tried to keep it really loose as far as like where are we and where are the places we're trying to go. Like they're nomadic and they just follow the Leviathan as it drifts along. So I didn't really want to make like an entire this is the underwater world of the Shackles map. So I very much was just like, you're in this general area. And then everything was sort of just a 1d3 distance every time days distance whenever you wanted to go somewhere was basically how I was keeping track of that. That's why it was like longer to get somewhere and shorter to get back, or shorter to get somewhere and longer to get back. That was because I was just randomly determining based on
Where the
Leviathan
had
was
gone.
at the time. Yep. So I didn't have anything more
Okay.
complicated than that. But looking back, I could have maybe made like a route for it to follow and had to calculate around the route, but that just seemed unnecessarily complicated. So, yeah.
So, just because I'm curious, because if Zeglu was still alive, this is what he'd have done. If our dragon had eaten the Leviathan,
Yeah.
What would have happened?
The dragon would have gotten insanely strong, and you would have had like an Ultra Godzilla powered kaiju. And then there would just then if as soon as Bubbles lost control of it, though, it would start rampaging and destroying the world as per the prime directive of the Leviathan's creation and energy sort of thing. The Leviathan is basically the Skull and Shackles equivalent of an old school Tarrasque. Like its whole purpose is to wake up, wipe everything out, go back to sleep. So that everything gets a chance to start over. Aldoon or whatever from Skyrim, Reapers from Mass Effect, that sort of thing. Like the whole purpose is just to do a civilization reset and then go back to sleep.
So we're really lucky, Zeglu.
I think people think that a lot. It's one of the.
Fair.
It's like a daily It's like a daily affirmation. Like shit's crazy, but at least Zeglu's not around anymore. So.
He's good.
He was spicy.
The ship, turn it into a fucking were-rat dragon plant ship.
He is a spicy boy. That is for sure.
Yeah.
He was a spicy boy. What else was going on underwater? Oh yeah, I wanted this adventure more so than for anyone else. Bubbles barely keeps track of you guys' names and appearances, so a nostalgia-fueled adventure really didn't matter for Bubbles. And Claximus has his own shit wrapped up since the beginning with Tamatoa and some of the inner sea action. But Analura, in the very beginning, not only did she take the most notes and the most interest in what was happening, but also she was performing the best as a pirate recruit and really was the favorite of Beardless Dungar. So this seems like a great opportunity to bring back Beardless Dungar and sort of end that loose end that was Beardless Dungar and your guys' essentially origins. Which we had 6, right? 6 pirates to start, 5 pirates to start. Yeah, and only the core 3 of Bubbles, Analura, and Claxmus still remain, plus their NPCs that were with them at the time. So it did feel like a pretty cool opportunity to revisit those early days, and see what people could remember and who people could remember, and things like that. And also just kind of show that you guys definitely dodged a bullet by getting out from underneath that guy, because he only got progressively more and more obsessed.
Insane.
Yeah, and insane. Yeah, exactly. So ultimately that was pretty cool. Now the interesting thing about Beardless Dungar is in the adventure as written, Harrigan was the guy that was supposed to Shanghai you. But I wanted to like mash Paradise Vale and the Shackles together in a better way. So Beardless Dungar being an exiled Dunduran from the mainland felt like a really good way to do that. To kind of say that like he's a dwarf and he was kicked out of his homeland, and dwarves hate the ocean, and they hate the ocean so much that's where they send their exiles. And their goddess of death lives at the bottom of the ocean because there's nothing scarier than the ocean, kind of deal. And so it was like a really great way to bring some lore and lay down some seeds for this whole Keptar Deep Death thing from the very beginning. And so to show that Dungar was really bloodthirsty and willing to do anything, that's why the rumor mill involved he killed Harrigan, the former captain, blah, 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 blah. So this is a great opportunity to bring Harrigan into the adventure for real, since he kind of got, dropped from the initial part of the adventure. So that's where the whole Ghost of Harrigan and his ships happened to sink in this exact area, and all that plot serendipity that tends to happen. So that was where this came in with the Ghost Shark and Harrigan and all that kind of stuff. So which I felt like you guys are getting so good at fighting big, tough monsters that shark fight went pretty damn smooth, all things considered. You guys have had to fight some pretty insane shit, so Ghost Shark was kind of just a speed bump on your way this time around. So, and then there was Claximus and his deity. So there's which I don't think
really
you.
Interested in
I
that.
don't think
yeah,
you
that
were.
was amazing. I loved that.
Yeah, I don't think you were expecting that, and
Nope.
And I forgot to make a map for this, so I ended up, while you were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see the crabs," I was like, So in the background, I'm like building this map so that you can go see the crab lady, and I was like, I want to make sure they understand that we got kaijus in this adventure. That's important that they know that we're dealing with fucking kaijus in this adventure. So I made sure to make her miniature very, very big, so you had no doubt in your mind that you were dealing with some kaiju shit. And I feel like it did what it needed to do. Like when you guys came over to this map and saw all the crab folks she had brought and saw how big she was, that you guys were going to have some serious shit to deal with.
Oh yeah.
In this adventure, yeah. So, and I
I
feel like
wanted none of fighting that. None of fighting that.
So I feel like
at that point,
Foundry
I
came
expected
through
there to
again.
Be fucking 2 of them.
Yeah, just the first one already made me feel like I had no idea what you were
getting into.
Yeah, what we were going to have to do. And then the second one came.
Yeah. Oh, so another map that I forgot to prep was the underwater, like, ravine, like the fucking entrance to the temple. I did the temple, I did all the other maps, I did the fucking mermaid cafe for like the sea witch or whatever. And I completely forgot this. So I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I don't have an underwater ravine map. So like I was like looking through my maps while you guys were planning how you were going to like take care of the devil sharks. And I went and I just grabbed just a normal ravine and I threw it into Foundry. And I was like, okay, I need you to be underwater. So I just clicked this button and it just made it an underwater map. And I was like, yeah. Foundry. Fuck yeah.
Can't do that in Roll20.
Oh, nope. Nope. So yeah, I was like, that saved the day right there. And then that was super satisfying to see everybody strategize and come up with all these cool ideas and these cool plans. And just wreck those dudes. Because they're basically like underwater dragons, devil sharks. So to take on like 3 of them at once, and combine all your abilities together, I thought that was super duper cool. So yeah.
Yeah, it was satisfying because, you know, in our campaign, we come up with a lot of plans. Sometimes they don't work out too well.
Sometimes.
And even though we lost like a lot of NPCs in that fight, I feel like that was one of the better. Like it worked out better than most of our other plans.
I will not disagree with that statement at all.
Sometimes we make plans and we just like completely start following it, and then as soon as it starts, it completely just falls
Yeah, we
apart.
can just forget.
I was impressed with Mermaid Cafe that you guys were in and out. I honestly thought that there would either be attempts at recruitment, fighting, or banging dangerous mermaid demons. Like, I kind of thought that those 3 things were going to happen. None of it happened. You went in, you got your information, and you got the hell out. So that was impressive.
I mean, it's still on the table. Still there. We can always go. Now we can go back and not have to worry about the world's ending.
Oh, now you can have
Let's
like
see.
vacation time.
Yeah.
Underwater
Yeah.
shore leave, as it were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The world was at stake. We didn't have time for all that good stuff.
It's fair.
Right.
It's fair.
Well, you have all the fun you want, but I got a wedding I got to start planning.
Oh yeah, there's also that. You could do undersea wedding. That'd be a thing.
I'll have to put a pin in that.
I've heard that life's better there.
Down where it's wetter. Yeah.
Under the sea. Oh my god. There goes your stream.
Yeah. Yep. And Disney's smashing through the windows right now. So. I was also excited to use this Ocean Temple map, finally. Been sitting on this Ocean Temple map forever. I guess I should be making them the active maps for those of you that are actually logged in. But such a gorgeous map, this Ocean Temple, and I knew that I wanted to use it for something in this campaign. And I just feel like it was a perfect fit for like an ancient place of power related to like death that was also underwater near where the Leviathan was going to be. So ultimately it served as like a good place for Dungar and his buddies to try and pull off their final bit of fuckery. So there was a lot more to it, but it was also the kind of map that if you were paying
see it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you were paying attention, you could just go the right direction and, finish it up.
There's so much more.
I will confess to the DM trope of no matter how fast you got through it, you would have gotten there just in time, kind of thing. Because I think as satisfying as it might be to be a good guy and actually show up before the Fell ritual has completed, it's one of those things that you're like, now what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like some of the tropes are, I think, more fun. But I don't know. If you guys had really, really, really hustled and gotten your shit in there, I did have some mechanics for interrupting it, and then you would have only had to go deal with the one kaiju. But ultimately, I felt like it worked out pretty well. So yeah, I felt like Dungar held his own pretty good, but he definitely couldn't compete with Action Economy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the combination of turning all his peeps against him and then shutting down his spellcasting support. I mean, it was just smart. It was just smart combat. So, you know, like, plus you guys by now have enough healing spread out amongst all your different characters that it's very hard to keep somebody down. So,
I mean, we were running on. I was running on fumes.
well, that to me
yeah,
is a well-designed dungeon. Is you make it to the boss, and the challenge is not just that the boss is hard, but also that you have burned through a lot of your resources. So, some people will make every encounter like we got to rest after this encounter. But you know, sometimes you end up with something like, hey, there's just these little turds that we fought at 3rd level at the entrance. That's not a big deal, but they wear you down, you know? Like, yeah, like these easier guys seem like this not a problem, but inevitably they will slowly drain you of those resources. So
Yeah, I had like 1 spell. I had 2 spells left by the end there. And this was also interesting for me as artificer because for the most part I've been dealing damage with fire, and I couldn't use any fire in like the underwater area. So I pretty much ended up going into a support caster role.
Which you have throughout your career of, you started when Artificer was still not official.
In UA.
Yeah, in UA. So you were constantly every couple levels having to redo your character because they kept changing the build on you. Until it finally settled, and when it settled, man, did it settle firmly. It is. I still hold that Artificer is beyond any doubt the best designed class of all the classes in 5th edition D&D. In so much as that you could make an entire party of artificers, each one reskinned to represent another class, and it would be better than a party using those actual classes. Like, that's just how well designed it is. Like, you could have
Ranger.
Yeah, you can just have 5. Yeah, you can have 5 artificers, but they don't call themselves artificers. They're like, I'm Steampunk Ranger, and it's like, wow, you're better than any ranger I've ever seen. I know, it's because I'm an artificer. Yeah, like, I feel like it could just do that for every single thing. I had high hopes that Tasha's would sort of, well, they kind of did. They kind of tried to bring the other classes to the level that Artificer's at, but Artificer's definitely a product of a shitload of playtesting and 5+ years of actual gameplay, and then they're like, oh, this is what a real good class would be like. That's balanced and makes sense and all that. I wish they had the courage to kind of do a player's handbook 2 sort of thing and redo the other guys to be on par. But I feel like as a community we've kind of managed to bring some of these other classes up to that level. I don't know. It's still such a good class. But yeah, it's still a sign of what a good class is that you were able to shift to that role, and I feel like doing an excellent job with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I only recently found out that I could, prepare spells as an artificer, because before I was just doing damage and stuff, so I didn't even use it to use the class the best I could.
Well, right, because you had a great spell list, and you were like, this spell list is doing great, why would I need to change it, kind of thing. So
I had no idea what to do without the rage and all the other stuff. I was just like,
I was surprised too. I was like, what do you mean you're out of rage? You don't run out of rage. You out of rage?
I'm out of rage, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's weird.
I think the only thing I had left was the belt, and I think I used it pretty well when I needed to use it. that was like the last resource. I'd already exploded. I'd already raged. I used the give everybody advantage on the shark one, which I think was smart because it led to those crits.
Oh yeah. I
Right
mean,
after
you
start.
guys pretty much brought all three of them to bloodied before we rolled real initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was real good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say
It
that
definitely make me like I should probably just every now and then let myself go down and get picked up just to save at least one rage.
it's I'd been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon recently, and what that really drove home to me in that game and here is that you always go for those doing the buffs and the debuffs first.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, that's just gonna be really annoying really quickly.
And those particular NPCs, I could have played Peppery a lot smarter than I did. As far as moving her to better cover and things like that. But with Corky, she barely had any health. She had very low constitution. So I pretty much did with her what I do when I play a support caster. I got my important concentration spell off that I just fucking left. Terry's played with me when I was the support caster, and my character would drop like a pivotal concentration spell and literally just leave the fight. Just be like, all right, tell me when it's over. Because that was a bigger contribution than any other DPS I could have done for the rest of the fight, was getting off those key spells and then getting the fuck out of there. Because of course the DM's going to want to try to take out those spells, so they're going to target the person that, is fucking up all their forces. So, it was interesting to see Analura doing that in her support role. Whenever she wasn't fucking something up, she was 2 rooms over from the actual fight. And I mean, that's how you do it. That's how you do it, honestly. But Peppery, in that fight, I was like, I'm gonna leave her out in the open. She's got shield and a pretty decent armor class. So if they can get hits on her, then that's cool. Because I didn't want to be like taking both spellcasters and being like, here's amazing buffs and we're leaving. But yeah. Overall, I think the whole arc, you guys did amazing in combat. And I think it's just a testament to the last 2 years of the campaign, just fighting crazier and crazier shit. Like the Eden Tatu Island Zelda dungeon. Like those bosses were.
I loved that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are some good bosses.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
That boss rush temple was bananas.
That was so fun.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of leveling up against those bosses. There was like just the sheer ridiculousness of them, and they weren't even made with Giphy Glyph system. They were just modified regular monsters. So, yeah.
Were there any routes you expected players to take on this arc that they didn't do?
I thought that Claxmus was going to be in a pretty tough situation. Because since the beginning of the campaign, the strongest roleplay that Claxmus has brought to the table has been his worship of Karina the Bones. I mean, he's a zealot, so like he's been scavenging, building shrines, dedicating souls to her when he kills people. Very much like an aquatic crab death knight type situation. And I was like, when I was planning this, I was like, he loves Analura so much, and he loves the rest of the crew so much, and he's physically changed. He's not even a crab person anymore. So he's like this warm-blooded, angelic being now. I wonder how much pressure this is going to put on him to switch him over, not switch him over, but to put him in a situation where he has to choose between the core values that defined his character for the last like 2 years to what kind of character he wants to be for the rest of the campaign. Yeah, so I was excited to see if that would cause any sort of indecision. How would you
At the beginning it did.
Yeah, how you
for sure.
you would think your way
really
out of it.
It's been really interesting to see all of the various character growth that dying and being reborn as an angel has done to Glax.
Yeah. But like at first, I was like, man, what do I do? I was just like, how does a zealot go against this god when he's a zealot?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the literal thing. Is like he's like kind of blind to it all. He just follows because he has like it's all about his religion and stuff. But then she's just like, I have kids, and I was like, I can't raise kids in an undead environment. I was like, that's what they have to inherit. The world is just that. I think that was the big one that changed classes was mine. Is right there. It's just like,
and see, she thought
he can't.
that she, as sort of as a trump card in her back pocket, Karina thought she would leverage your offspring as like, you better do what I say kind of thing. But in classic bad guy blunder, that ended up being the thing that crossed the line for you.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of
like
interesting.
Undead. It was like there's nothing for them to inherit. There's like the whole thing of being a crab was like scavenging. Like you're just gonna go universe to universe destroying it. Like there's nothing to inherit.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I feel like intelligent religious crabs being able to scavenge the multiverse kind of is on brand for them.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think it's on brand for his particular cast.
Okay. I also thought that when given the chance, you could see, maybe, I don't know if you could see, but it says layer dash turtle dragon here. I did think that when given the opportunity to go give Tarek the champion what for, I thought you guys would sort of super jump on that, but everybody was kind of like, we're mad at him, but we'll save that for later. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I think it was more of a, we don't want to be underwater anymore sort of answer, but
this was our first underwater like adventure since the Grindilo caves, I think.
Oh yeah, well, because you bribed your way out of the other dragon turtle thing, where you had to go down and retrieve the sword and get back. You just were like,
oh yeah,
you're like, yo,
nah.
here's 3,000 gold. Why don't you just say we got the sword? And the dude's like, good job getting the sword. Great job. And that was actually written in the adventure that you could bribe your way through your pirate trials if you wanted to, which I thought was very good writing for a pirate campaign. Obviously, you couldn't bribe your way through like paladin trials, but you could certainly bribe your way through pirate training. So I don't know. I thought that was a pretty neat effect. I thought that Analura, I thought it was very interesting how when she first got there, she reverted back to like the like the Netherlands accent that the others that Getrow had, like people do when they go home. You know, if they come from an area with a strong regional accent.
Yep. My dad does it all the time.
But as her people continued to embarrass her with their ignorance and their hatreds and their dismissiveness of other races, and their dismissiveness of technology, of anything different than their own way of life, you could see she started to very quickly put herself back into the person that she had become instead of the person that she was. So I thought that was a very nice, subtle role-playing effect there. So props for that, for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of like the nostalgia when you first go back to, when you first go back home. You kind of remember all the good things and stuff, and then as they start talking, you kind of remember, oh, that's why I left. Yeah.
They're like, you know whose fault it is that the economy's in shambles? And you're like, oh, this is why I only come home once a year. Okay. Yeah. So, I did wonder, and like, I know you love the character, obviously, quite a bit. I did wonder if you would take any sort of bait and try to return to those obligations and let your sister, or try to free your sister from her obligations by taking back the original obligations that you sort of ran away from, essentially.
Yeah, I did consider it, and even up until the last session,
Mm-hmm.
I was still thinking that that might have to be something I might have to end up doing, until the ship turned into a kaiju. Then I was like, oh, okay, we're good.
Good. That was that. The storytelling was successful because I definitely wanted you to be in a position where you were like, I guess I'll do whatever I have to do to save my people, kind of thing. Because I'm sure there was like a part of you that was like, I'm gonna have to like combine my power with my sister's power or something to like awaken some shit deep within the Leviathan to maybe control it long enough to fight off these attackers or something, right? Like it was going to pull you
Yeah,
in, and then there's going to be
it
a
was
danger
something.
of you, yeah. Or if your sister died in the process, then you end up saddled with the obligation of keeping the creature asleep, and so on and so forth. So I definitely was hoping for that that pressure to kind of be placed on you. So yeah,
Yeah, it worked.
yeah. And
Also, oh,
no,
yep,
keep
go
going.
ahead. I was gonna talk about the family and the characters that you made.
Yeah, go for it.
So I had my brother's name since the beginning, but that was all I had. And then I think you came to me and you're like, "Hey, do you know, like, do you have anything for your family or characters?" And I just told you to just make it up.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Hello? I think I got lagged out. Am I there?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you told me to make it up, but then I lost you.
Yeah. I just told you to make it up, and kind of, I think you asked me about like my sister, and that was about it.
Yeah. I wanted to initially. I was like, I'm gonna make her sister like the bad guy. So there's like this. You left your sister. Your sister had to take charge because you left, and you actually left your people in the wrong hands, kind of thing. But I was like, we've already got like an evil sister thing going on with like background character, Sandar or whatever, and her sister. And I was like, I don't want the whole campaign to just be a bunch of like evil sisters or whatever. So that's where that was one of the first things I changed because when you first dropped the diary thing, I was like, yeah, later when we do this, the sister will be the main bad guy. And I thought about that up until I was really sitting down to prep this one, and then I was like, nah, I don't really want her sister to be the bad guy. I think it'd be better if her sister is resentful that she had to take on this mantle, but not so resentful that she would betray her people and tradition and all of that. So I thought that would hit like harder. You know what I mean? That this person is miserable with their situation, but still refusing to do a bad job. I don't know. I felt like that would hit a
Yeah.
little bit better. So
I think the route you went for was more effective, because when I was writing the journal too, I was thinking in the back of my mind, oh, if he makes her evil, that's probably like that seems to be the most obvious choice.
mhm.
And I think you ended up taking the more effective route, where it was, family tension, but it wasn't like we have to defeat her now, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and then there was the mom thing. And I definitely with the art with the mom, I was like that's some heavy duty ara like energy right there for mom. And elves all, live either forever or for like 800 years or whatever. So I couldn't imagine this woman who essentially lost one of her kids and then lives in a pretty primitive society where her bloodline in particular is needed to control this creature, I mean, I feel like she would be down for having lots of kids. And I was like, how do I explain Analura not having like a billion brothers and sisters? So there was this whole subplot that didn't really get explored of whatever deal she made with the Sea Witch, and how that impacted her and all that didn't really get explored. But man, when you dropped that like dragon turtle mom joke, like whew, I died from that shit. So that was wild. I think even Lift wasn't ready for that. I think even Lift like fell out of his chair when you dropped that one on everybody. So that was cool.
It was necessary to highlight the difference between our mother and how her sexual drive has made all her children not want to
Right?
have children.
Yeah, like when your parents try to convince you to do drugs so you become straight edge. Yeah, where they're like, it's okay, have your friends over, do it at the house. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm never gonna do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked well because Analura hadn't shown any interest in any of that the whole campaign,
Yeah.
and that helped to explain it a bit.
Agreed. So, Django, I gotta ask, after coming off of your own character arc and then moving into another person's character arc, I've never really been in a campaign as a player that was character backstory driven in this very critical role, whose turn is it to backstory thing that we're trying. So what was it like to sort of transition from my story is in the foreground to my story is in the rearview mirror, and now we're moving towards this? Was it jarring? Was it interesting? Like what was it like?
As in general, just like as a player, like I feel like I go into not just this game but any game I'm in to just experience it, you know. Hell, like even the fact that you were even willing to pick up this concept of a character just really somewhat surprised me, because I'll be honest, like pretty much whenever I create a character, it's usually like it's very much based on something else, and many times I think a lot of DMs are kind of shy away from that, and understandably so. But the fact that you're willing to run with it, I really enjoyed. But to bring it back around, I just like experiencing this world and experiencing it with everybody else, and that's the important thing for me.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, if ever there was a campaign setting where Django reflavored as a furry was appropriate, I would say this is the campaign where that would be appropriate. This campaign over time has become more and more and more just like the dumping ground of every fan fantasy ever. I
Yep.
mean, you guys threw your championship Pokeball on the ground like you were in a Smash Bros tournament, and fucking Bubbles was waiting with bated breath for Mewtwo to show up. And the crazy thing is Mewtwo could have showed up because I had stats for Mewtwo, and so if the random generator had said Mewtwo showed up, it would have been a totally different fight. See also burning down Opera House. So like, yeah, I mean, I like this campaign a lot because I feel like we've taken so much ownership over it as far as our willingness to just kind of do whatever is fun, and just run with it instead of worrying so much about like, oh, this has been done before, or this has been done before, or this is obviously just Pokemon, or this is obviously just Zelda stuff. I don't know. I think what's really fun about this campaign is that it's just sort of this melting pot of video game, anime, um, popular media, all the different tropes just sort of tossed into one big pot. So
Right. Because if you don't mind me just bringing it back a little bit, because like, and I guess I could tell the others this, like when I was discussing Django's backstory with Crash, it's like I came in later, so it just sort of like evolved as I started getting into the game, and Jimmy wasn't even there at the start. That was just sort of something that I threw in, and like even the whole sort of like, how is that going to work with Shivaka? That I just thought, hey, that's kind of an interesting dramatic thing. Let's throw that in there.
And we did extensive, we being the many parts of my own brain, and also the OG pirates that are still here from the beginning. We did a shitload of research on pirates before we started this campaign, including their different relationships and ways of being married, and sort of common law marriage, and their polyamory, and how they handled the dead, and how they handled inheritance and all that. So yeah, like when you were bringing that stuff up, it really wasn't that far of a stretch for traditional pirate life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
like, for the Paradise Vale character that I had that I wanted to be a pirate, that's like, I did so much look into, like, this is great. Like, I can do all these things, and it would be considered normal. It wouldn't be, like, taboo or
Yeah, so
weird.
again, if there was ever a campaign where your furry character wanted to participate in you know, a pansexual polyamorous marriage, I guess this would be the best campaign for that. Because sort of like everything goes for tropes and pop culture references and things like that, because of the way pirate life is, everything kind of goes for everything. Like the Shackles as a region is chaotic neutral. It is ruled by the whims of the Hurricane King or Queen, and the the first captains that serve underneath them, and then that's it. Those people just whatever they decide that day. Those are the rules. Going way back in time, I feel like the cannons in the arena and Firegrass Island was really the definitive moment where everyone was like, "This place is fucking crazy." Yeah. So
I don't think Django was there or Snuggly.
yeah, but it was traumatic. I don't have the map anymore.
Oh no,
but-
yeah, I came straight into all the crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the island, Grass Island, there's 3 captains, free captains. Yeah, that first captains, free captains, I can't remember. Free captains. They share control of the island. One of them always stays in port while the other 2 are out running their business, which is actually pretty smart because when you guys left your base, it just got taken over by somebody else. So Firefox or Firegrass had it figured out. You had that figured out for Freeland, which was Candyland. But your first base, yeah, when you left with only like new NPCs in charge, as soon as you were gone for a couple days, they were like, "Yeah, this is our island now." They'll have to retake the whole fucking thing. But
part of that island.
The guy that was in charge was a parrot, like an awakened parrot, not even like an Aarakocra, just an awakened parrot. And he thought it would be he's always drunk too, and he thought it'd be a really cool idea to use actual cannons in the arena. And so people were being shot for like 10d10 damage at like point blank, and just turning into like a red mist when the cannon would hit them. Because it was like if it dealt enough damage to drop you to 0, you just exploded essentially, and it was a small arena too. It was bananas. And I feel like it really summed up for everybody. Like, this place is crazy. Like, pretty much anything goes here. And everywhere you go, you had to get a feel for like what is the law of the land in this place. So yeah, I thought it was a good way to handle it.
And some backstory in that arena. Mumbling Danish, that's where she met like her first love.
Oh
the
yeah,
old man.
that old man.
And he got blown up by a cannon.
Well, she
Like,
was
right in
holding his
front of her.
hand. Yeah, she was holding his hand. That he got blown up, but she just had his hand left in her hand. And
Start.
yeah. Yep. But now she's got Snuggly on the horizon. So that's a thing. Huh. And on that note, that's going to be the next thing that we explore is going down into the Underdark Sea, and dealing with Kashara's backstory. I don't know if Kashara is still with us, but Kashara, are you ready?
Yep,
Are you
yep.
ready to face
I am very much so ready. Well,
sins
okay.
of your past?
Nathan is ready. Kashara is not ready.
I want to say that I'm a pioneer with this Underdark pirate shit, but Forgotten Realms has been doing it for a very long time. There's a whole city in Forgotten Realms called Skullport, which is an Underdark pirate city. But I'm gonna try to do it justice because I know there's not a lot of Underdark pirate shit, so I'm gonna try to do it justice at least while you're down there. But I'll probably swap out the Shackles map for like an Under Shackles map or something while you're down
Shackles.
there. Yeah, I'm taking some inspiration from Final Fantasy IV, where you have to go down into the Underdark in that game, and they had lava oceans down there, and you had to pimp out your ship with like mithril plating to survive the lava seas, like while you were down there. So I'm kind of taking that as a little bit of inspiration. So should be fun. Should be fun. All right.
Yeah, so we went off on a few tangents there, but one of the things that I thought of earlier that I wanted to say was just how fantastic it is that this can be just an ode to everything, and you still manage to weave it all together in a way that makes any just modicum of sense at all. Like it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's I have a huge piece of paper, like a huge poster piece of paper that has the entire campaign mapped out on it. I don't know if this is the paper or not. No, this one's blank for the most part. But I take a paper like this, like this big, and I draw out like an actual flowchart. I don't use like a flowchart software, and I try to figure out how to connect all the things that matter to everybody, like to each other, and then also the things that matter to the adventure, like the campaign, and I try to find ways to like connect all that stuff together so that there's something sort of tying you and what matters to you to the ongoing story. And it's one of those things that I have to do every couple months because just like weeds in a garden, like things become very interesting in this direction and we all focus on that direction. And then if we don't pay attention, we've grown all of this over here and neglected like all this over here. And that makes it a lot harder to get back on the path that is like the ongoing narrative. So there's a lot of resetting, like trying to find ways to sort of bring things back and then kind of move forward from there. So not that you have to run a campaign like that, but ultimately I am still trying to tell the original story around all these other stories. Fortunately, the original story is super basic bitch pumpkin spice. So it's not too hard to weave the original story into all these backstories. So, all right. Was there anything for feedback? Was there any part of the Analura arc that could have been better, or was like a little tedious, or confusing, or suggestions on how things might have gone to make it a little bit more interesting, or any of that kind of stuff? Because I mean, your feedback just helps make all the games better. So.
Well, I think a big one is at some point I just stopped. I kept forgetting and kind of didn't want to remember how to swim downward, upward, and stuff. I was just like, I can move and I can see the bad guy.
Completely understandable.
Yeah.
In space games, sci-fi and sci fantasy games, it's always like we're in zero gravity. We're in our spaceships and all that, and that's like the first thing that everybody abandons is like the y-axis. They're just like, Some people pay attention to it, but a lot of people are like, I'm roughly in the same area that you are. Let's smash, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. Honestly, in Starfinder, they straight up are like, yeah, we don't fuck around with like Z coordinates or Y coordinates, or depends on how your XYZ is set up, but we don't worry about the up down. Just assume that obviously ships are going to move towards each other in that axis, and then you don't have to track it. Like their spaceship fighting battle system is hex based, and it doesn't take into account up and down. It's like space is infinite in all directions. Just assume that they're doing that. Otherwise, you've already got enough shit to track. Tracking that on top of it's going to be a real pain in the ass kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Foundry makes it way easier to track than Roll20. That's for damn sure. Because you have like a height thing built directly into your sheet. And I use height-based walls in a lot of instances. So flying and levitating and digging and height and all that does play a role. But it's definitely nothing to be embarrassed about dropping, because it is one more thing on top of all the other things that you have to keep track of. And a lot of people don't think about that underwater you have infinite up and down essentially based on the height of the room, because you're all basically flying all the time. I think the important part where it came to play is very rarely did I impose like soft cover, because I would assume you would just swim above, below, to the left, to the right of whoever, wherever you were shooting. And there really wasn't difficult terrain moving through people, because it was assumed that you could just swim under them or over them without any real penalties to movement. I think those were the main benefits of the underwater stuff. But yeah, it's very easy to forget all that. Just like the talking underwater. Like, as hilarious as it would be for us to use a bunch of voice changers and sound like we're always underwater, it would be so obnoxious.
It would get old within like the first 10 minutes.
For sure. Yeah. So that's why we do the whole, like, everyone sounds like this, but just like, the Nazi Germans in a Indiana Jones movie, they speak German for one sentence, so they're speaking German. And then because ain't nobody like to read subtitles, we're just going to switch back to English now with bad German accents. That's kind of how I envisioned like the underwater talking. Like the whole time was just horrible, Murloc sounds, but we spared ourselves the reality of it. So, was there anything else that was tedious, slow, needed to be changed, could be better in the future, or overall was it all right?
No, I really enjoyed all the visual effects. They're really good, right? I think some of them like don't play well with each other, but that's growing pains of using a new system.
For sure.
For sure. Especially when I'm using many resources and you're using many resources at the same time, and then like I can see I know when your map it has a lot of stuff on it, because my bit rate for recording shoots through the roof.
Well, right, and I was kind of giving you a hard time the other night, but I had to switch off of the Leviathan map during the stream we're on right now, because it started to crash my stream. So I was like, okay, this is what he was talking about the other night. Yeah.
Yeah, like when Luke was flipping back and forth, that mixed in with all the stuff that's going on, that's was just killing it. Everything else is fine. It was all fine. Like you could do other things, but as soon as like I don't know, the token was flipping, that's when like I started looking at it and I was like, why is the screen so slow? What's going on? And then everything stopped for like a solid second. And I was just like,
well, and also that's the danger of these mods and these macros, is just like early days of modding Skyrim, everybody who's modding for the most part is doing their own shit their own way. Some of the people are finally teaming up and are like, let's make sure that our stuff always works together. We'll be friends forever. But a lot of people are like, I made this shit. I don't know if it works with everybody else's stuff. I don't know. Whatever. And then Foundry itself gets updated so frequently that a lot of these people are like, I ain't keeping up with these fucking updates. This is what I made. If you want to use it, wish you the best of luck. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we're at like 95 mods. So there's any given update, any given combination or unforeseen combination of things could definitely tank performance because we have so many factors at play that were not built alongside each other. They were all built separate of each other. I'm honestly amazed at some of the shit we could do with all these mods working, because 95 mods to have them all pretty much play nice with each other is spectacular. Yeah, it was.
And I do see a lot of what you say with in the other Foundry game I play in for my Odyssey, a lot of the automated stuff, sometimes they get hung up on it. The DM does, because he's using Foundry to keep track of all things. So I'm always telling him, just we got dice. I was like, and we all trust each other basically. So just go about it. I can see how.
Last Monday was Dentist Day, and it was also Martin Luther King Day. I had off from work, so I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do all the updates, because we haven't done updates in like 2 months. I'm gonna do updates on all my Foundry games. It's gonna be great. And it took forever to run updates on 4 servers. And then by the time I had run the updates, I had to go to the dentist, and then the dentist was a disaster, and I was in so much pain that I just got home from the dentist, I went to sleep, and I woke up in time to run the game. And so I had no idea when I was running my Monday game what was going to work and what wasn't going to work, and a lot of things didn't work. And fortunately, my players were like, well, we have the dice roller. And everybody just rolled dice like fucking cavemen. And we added the numbers with our brains, and it was okay. You know what I'm saying? And even though it was more time than automation, it was less time than complaining about and trying to fix the automation. And that's what I constantly have to tell people who are trying to do stuff in Foundry or in Roll20, is like, you can't let the technology get in the way of actually playing the game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and it's hard. It's hard when you put a lot of work into something and you want it to work and you want it to be like you show this cool magic trick to your friends. But sometimes you just have to like cut your losses and be like, yeah, it's supposed to do this, but it's not. Let's just play some Dungeons and Dragons. That's always a hard thing to, as a DM, to just be like, all right, let's just move on. But it's something with this system in particular, with Foundry, that you kind of have to be willing to do. Because sometimes things will just be broken. But that's why we avoid a lot of the more complicated shit like auto targeting and auto damaging and things like that. Because we run a pretty hard game. Like all the games that I run are pretty hard. And I wouldn't want somebody to die because the automation healed them or didn't heal them when it was supposed to, or dealt extra damage when it wasn't supposed to. So I feel like the auto application of health and damage and status effects, I feel like that also, and it also kind of takes even more away from playing D&D. Like part of D&D is that it's not a video game. You know what I'm saying? It's a game that you have to interact with shit. And yeah, we're not IRL. You're not actually dropping a status token on your miniature, physically picking up your miniature, moving across the board, finding your favorite dice in your dice collection and rolling them in your custom dice tower that somebody made for you on Etsy. But like all these things of like moving the pieces around and doing some math and applying the damage manually, I feel like if you took that away, you're taking the virtual tabletop even further away from the IRL tabletop. And if you're trying to capture that IRL feeling, the automation, I think it just takes it too far away from the IRL experience. One of the things I love about Foundry is that we could see each other's cursors on the screen. It's such a stupid thing to like, but it is a reminder, especially since we don't use like web cameras, it's a reminder that there are other human beings at this table. And they are at the same table as you. So if you see somebody hovering around Shivaka drawing little heart bubbles with their cursor, you know that other person is there and that they are looking at the same table that you're looking at. You know, like, I wonder if they're looking at the same full moon that I'm looking at tonight. That kind of thing. So yeah, I like like that you could see that, and I feel like things like that keep the game messy and visceral and make it feel more. I don't know. I almost feel like the clumsiness of it helps it feel more like Dungeons and Dragons. When it's too streamlined, we might as well just all go play Divinity 2 or something, you know? When it's super duper streamlined. So that's my thing. Plus it's less stuff to worry about breaking if we aren't worried about auto damage, auto resists, auto saves, all that kind of stuff. Plus, would you feel weird if like a very important saving throw came at you and your miniature just rolled the saving throw for you automatically? Right? That would feel weird.
I would hate it. I would hate
Yeah.
it.
Like part of D&D is that you believe in luck and gambling and that you are holding your 3D dice. We have this fancy 3D dice program so that we could feel like we're using real fucking dice. If we have the robot rolling all of our stuff for us, then we don't get to roll all these beautiful dice. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. So it sounds like the arc went pretty well then.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. In fact, the interesting thing from like my perspective was like seeing all of these others on like Beardless Dungar's crew who'd I'd only heard about in passing.
Truth. Yeah. The one lady, Rhiannon, Riaris, she taught them essentially to be pirates, and she was a pretty rough lady. So it was kind of cool to see them, Riaris crying, to see them go up against her.
I
And
wanted her to come with us.
I know, right? I thought you guys were gonna try to,
Instantly.
Well, like,
She was rude to Bubbles, and Bubbles was like, "Fuck that! I'm tired of your shit, lady."
I'm a free captain now, lady.
Yeah.
You should get to talk to me like this.
Yeah, she made me grapple with my like 8 strength, so I didn't really care about her.
She's my
grappling
favorite.
hook.
She's my favorite. Next to Grok.
Yeah, because you aced her classes.
Yeah. I was happy that you guys immediately remembered Grok and wanted to spare Grok. Grok was like the nanny, the magic nanny that tries to take care of the kids who are in a real bad home situation. Yeah. So like when you guys were Shanghai pirates, she was like always trying to be like nice to you and like sneak you guys extra shit. So it was nice to see her make it through. Yeah. Peppery Longfarthing, I thought was gonna really give it to you guys, but you guys were like, we're not giving the spellcaster a fucking chance. So when you mobbed her, had your NPCs mob her, kept shooting her, she saw that Dungar was like lost cause. She's like, fuck it, I'm out.
Well, my next thing is like why I started closing doors. Is like, well, I'll just deny him spellcasters if I deny the door.
Yeah. Kalki's going to be interesting because she, per the adventure, is his cabin girl, his basically, how do I put this? His personal attendant in all things. So she's obviously going to be pretty distraught that he's been taken out. But you did technically take her prisoner, so that should be interesting to see how that goes. But overall, it was a good feeling to bring back those old NPCs, the immortal kobolds. Just I don't know. I like that the immortal kobolds sort of hinted at what Dungar was up to. Earlier on, maybe they hinted. I don't know. Maybe everybody thought it was just an ongoing joke.
I thought it was an ongoing joke. I'll be honest.
A big part of what made Dungar's plan possible was that artifact you retrieved from the salvage run. That he sent you after. So there was a lot of like callbacks to like what happened before. I don't know. Overall, I was happy with how it turned out. So, all right, cool. I think this is a good recap. I'm glad everybody enjoyed the chapter or of the story that we just went through, and then we're gonna pick it up on Tuesday by wrapping things up here. And then maybe making it down to the Underdark, or at least starting to make our way towards the Underdark and whatever adventures await in the underseas of the Shackles. So that will be very interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm sure that everything will be fine and there won't be any problems. So
Yeah, because with adventurers, generally when they go places, nothing interesting ever happens. Could you imagine if they made a video game like that? Where everywhere you went, they're like, honestly, things are great. Nothing happened. You're like, I spent like 3 hours traveling here. You're saying nothing's wrong? Nothing. It's great. Okay. I mean, maybe I'll hang out. Something will go wrong. Why would you say that? I don't know. I just a feeling I have. And then your character lives there for like 3 or 4 years. Nothing bad happens. They're like, fuck.
Start a
Yeah.
family.
Exactly. Oh, Lift, you joined us. Okay.
I did. Sorry, I got on late.
Did you have any like best memories, highlights, things that could have been better, commentary that you wanted to add before we adjourn?
No, I mean I had a blast. Being part of the crew for so long, it was fun to see a lot of the old names that I'd heard about but never had met. So that was cool. It was a good time. But no, everything was great.
Sweet.
I don't know what I missed, so I don't want to.
You literally said the same thing that Django just said. So
okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'll take that to mean it was good.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Cool. Then that's it. I'll see